A congested James Sykes here, fighting off a cold, but I know there's going to be a lot of questions about the news that came out, so I want to get into some background behind it, specifically on the technical side of things. We've been promoting the clay alteration area for quite some time, and we do think it's absolutely viable. So why are we walking away from that? Why not go drill that? Well, that's what I want to bring to your attention right now because we still really believe in the clay alteration area, but we also believe that now is a right decision to make this move. We think there's a lot of good synergies, and we think that this opportunity is it's a great thing for our investors. So let's look at Aberdeen. This is a big project. It's up in the Thelon Basin, up in the territories, and the belief being that the Thelon Basin and the Athabasca Basin were all attached at one point, but the Thelon's underexplored compared to the Athabasca Basin. So the potential for discoveries up here is actually quite, quite prominent. I want to bring your attention to the area in red here that's majority owned by Orano. And there's a number of deposits on there, 127 million pounds at about 0.5%. Now, that's pretty significant size and showing, but to build a jurisdiction nowadays, you need at least 300 million pounds, 200 million pounds, because you have to build that mill, so you need more pounds in the ground, and the more economic pounds that you can find, such as open pits, the better. That's why this area really looks good, because it has that Athabasca 2.0 feel to it. Maybe we'll call it the Thelon 2.0. Regardless, it has that shallow potential at the sandstone contact. Absolutely amazing area here. Let's look at the Athabasca though, since the two are very synonymous. And we're going to zoom into this area up here, which hosts Cigar Lake over in the red dot, and the Eagle Point, Sioux Lake, those systems all up in this area. So this is if I just draw on 20 kilometers by 30 kilometers, you get an idea of the scale of the area. And within that area, there's 505 million pounds in a 20 kilometer by 30 kilometer area in 45 unique deposits. Over 270 of those have been mined, and the majority of that falls along a 40-kilometer long fault system that you can see here, where there's a clean separation of the sandstone, which is the peach colored unit, and the other rocks, the gray rocks on the other side. So it's a big system. Big fault zones yield big systems. If we throw in Cigar, which is only another 20 kilometers away, that's an 825 million pound U308 jurisdiction. That's crazy. That is a lot of value in that area. So when we step back and we look at Aberdeen again with that perspective, we throw in that 20 kilometers by 30 kilometers based on the scale below, we can start building up that jurisdiction. But you can already see, I hope you can see, that Aberdeen is twice as big. So Aberdeen has that potential to have that Cigar Lake addition to it, that 800 million pound. But even if we're just aiming for 500 million pounds and 127, 125 has already been discovered, that's 375 million pounds out there that's just waiting to be discovered. And there have been a lot of discoveries out here. There's your 40-kilometer long trend that has, again, the sandstone, that yellow unit, clearly separating the basement unit. So what's along this fault? Do you have 270 million pounds hosted along this fault system? Who knows? Hasn't been properly drilled yet. And there's another massive fault system that just rips right through this. So everything's doubled here. That's the lucrative appeal to this. I've said this to my colleagues before, that I think Aberdeen is our Hook project but on steroids. We love Hook. We love that clay alteration area. We love the tab area. We love Accio. We think there's a lot of potential in that jurisdiction alone. But this, Aberdeen, is really Hook on steroids. It is just anomaly after anomaly. So as part of the due diligence, we've been looking at some of the data and going over everything. And we've applied the same exploration, the exploration technique that we've addressed throughout these videos on the clay alteration area, where we're looking for that visual mass of clay and the right illite and following uranium, find uranium, the lead isotope fingerprints, the hydrothermal heavy rare earths, and the anomalous boron. A lot of these anomalous areas have a lot of these characteristics, but there have been two that have all six combined, and that's the Kavik and the Tatagak zones. Both of those, they're hitting high grade uranium out there. So that whole synergy of what we're seeing down at the clay alteration area makes sense for up here as well. The pathfinders work. So again, that to me reinforces clay alteration area as a follow-up target. So it's not something to be lost, but what makes Aberdeen more exciting than that is that sandstone potential. That's the sandstones when you have an unconformity deposit, the sandstone overlying in the basement rocks, that's where you get a lot of potential for extreme high grades, your 10%, your 20%, your 50%. And when you see rock like this, especially from the Loki area, where your sandstones are all showing the same things as everything else, it didn't have the heavy rare earths, but everything else works for it. And especially that Loki zone has the most anomalous boron out of every area drilled that's outside of the two mineralized zones, Tatagak and Kavik. So Loki's very exciting, and it's barely drilled, but you're seeing massive clay alteration with geochemical anomalies, uh, enriched uranium at the unconformity and beneath the unconformity within 10 meters. With very limited drilling, it is easy to miss these things. So there's a lot of potential for finding a discovery already within these areas that have been drilled. How do you explore up in the Thelon? It's the same way we've been doing as baseload. We really rely heavily on the use of gravity surveying, and that's been done up in the Kigavik area. So the Orano project that has 127 million pounds. This is from the forum presentation, but 20 gravity targets were drilled. 12 of them have mineralization, so a 60% chance of finding uranium mineralization. That to me screams fertile rocks to begin with, which I can agree with on the Aberdeen side of things. Very fertile. But 5 uranium deposits discovered within those 20 gravity targets. That's a 25% success rate. That's pretty impressive. If we look at the Aberdeen side of things, and I'm going to change their slide a little bit, and just look at it the same way, they've defined 57 targets. Actually, some of those targets I think are they're one target, but these target areas are 5-10 kilometers long. They're huge. 15 of those target areas have been drilled. Four of them have hit mineralization, so you're 25%, just shy of half of the Kigavik success rate. And two deposits have been discovered, which I'm calling Kigavik, or sorry, not Kigavik, Tatagak and Kavik. So that's a 13% success rate. But if you still look at the remaining targets that haven't been drilled, so 42 targets remaining, and you apply that 13% success rate, you still have 5 deposits waiting on this project. So it's not even a visual thing or a geological thing, but it's a numeric thing too. Everything just screams that there's so much potential for discovery and large deposit, high grade deposit discovery in this area. If more pounds are discovered on this project, that gives the incentive for the area to be developed. This could very well be the next Athabasca Basin, and being so young, and this new merge co being a first mover into the area to really push it forward. I think this is exciting. Again, one of the problems, there are too many targets. There are a lot of targets, rightfully so though. That's encouraging. How do we lessen the amount of targets, or how do we better target within all of these targets? Because if you take this example, this is the Tatagak area that Forum have drilled in Cameco previously. The mineralization's right down there in the red polygons, but this anomaly is huge. It's 1.5 kilometers long. How do you target that? And if you've got larger gravity anomalies on your project, how do you target mineralization in there? Because obviously the whole thing is not mineralized. And I think that's where the group Baselode brings a lot of our expertise to Forum's expertise, and we combine a lot of synergies and a lot of great ideas to really make the most out of all of these target areas. And I think that our combined efforts can really do that, really do a wonderful job. And I think we can hit a discovery very quickly. And that's the plan, is let's really pump this thing forward and make those discoveries, because we know that they're out there. The whole merger concept, though, it creates a company with very large prospective land holdings in the Athabasca and the Thelon basins. These are the world's highest grade uranium jurisdictions. The one of the benefits behind all of this is that all of the ground that Forum has and all of the ground that we have will remain in good standing. All of our key projects will remain in good standing for a very long time. It's not like we're in a rush to sit there and just and try to explore certain projects. We've got time behind us on this, so we can put our best foot forward. We are focused on exploration with high discovery potential, and that's why Aberdeen right now is the go-to. Discovery will really reward shareholders in this environment. The uranium sentiment seems to be coming back online, especially with a lot of big announcements out there. But the momentum is getting behind the uranium space again. So we're hopeful that this merger is occurring at the right time to really generate a lot of buzz, really generate a lot of positive news behind it. But I also want to point out that that whole discovery potential, Aberdeen is a summer only project. We cannot explore Aberdeen in the wintertime. So what that really does is opens up the door for Hook now to be explored in the wintertime. Obviously, that's not my decision as I will not be the CEO of the new company, but I will definitely be putting my foot forward on this and really highlighting the idea that the discovery potential at Hook at our clay alteration area remains exceedingly high, as high as what there is at Aberdeen, and it's a good viable target to go hit in the winter months when you can't drill Aberdeen. That's how we maximize our exploration efforts. It's a little bit of wait for baseload shareholders, that extra 6 months that we are down the road from the new year. If Hook gets drilled, if Hook gets drilled in the wintertime, I can't speak for what Newco would do, but I think that's a game of patience that can really pay off. It's not like the project hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there. It's just a slight delay. We've already had delays this year, and hate to say it, but what's another 6 months? No, we think that this double discovery potential idea would really reward shareholders. And that's part of the big play behind this merger. And for both companies, this consolidation really allows us to rebalance everything, to come at this in a new perspective. We've got new management. Our group is still heavily involved. We control the board, roll back our shares, and we can, with the new discovery, we can really propel this whole vehicle forward. And I think it's exciting times for all of this to happen. I honestly think this is something that is just waiting to really take off and take off fast and hard. So that's some of the thoughts behind this whole concept and this merger from the technical perspective. More so, we're not abandoning clay alteration area. It's just being pushed back slightly for something that we think has more potential to deliver quicker. Baselode, we remain part of the OR group of companies. Newco will remain part of the OR group of companies. Forward-looking statements, as I do believe we're on to that path to success. Please feel free to reach out to me via email. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you think about this whole merger and everything going on. But we will have more updates as this is big news on our end, and we're excited about what happens in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye.